I done a post on little girls being called fast and grown, and this commenter here says if a girl's having sex, even if she's a young girl, she is fast and grown. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. She says a girl is fast if she is having sex, dating grown ass men. Me at 13, I wasn't dating no grown man. I wasn't dating boys. I was playing with dolls. So yes, a girl can be fast, depending on what that girl is doing. If she's having sex, then she is fast. If she's dating a grown man, then she is fast. She is lying. If she's lying to her mother and father, because what she knows is she is doing wrong things. And guess what? She is fast. So, there's a couple of thoughts that I have, and I don't. You can think what you want to think, but I appreciate you putting this comment there. The first thing I would say is like, or what I would look at when a girl is doing that is like, what is going on at home? What is she being exposed to at home? Right? When, if, and when she's doing that, what's her home life like? But at the same time, I guess I would say that the first thing I said, which I said first, but I would think about that second. But the first thing I said, if she's dating a grown man, that she is a victim. Because even if a little girl says, yes, I'm down and I want to be in a relationship with a grown man, her frontal lobe isn't fully developed. She's making decisions, and a grown man is manipulating and taking advantage of that. Grown man or grown woman, whatever the case may be, they are manipulating that child and taking advantage of that. A grown man and a young girl have nothing in common, and it's very interesting how and I don't know if this is the intent, but all of the emphasis is being placed at the little girl's feet as opposed to a grown man who is dating her. It is his responsibility as a grown adult to not be engaged with children. Suffice to say, this was something, I was thinking about this, that I saw personally at school quite a bit, particularly around sports and things like that. I think sports is the greatest, or the point of greatest entry for older adults to have access to children. Sports, and then after school activities. At least that's, reflecting on it, what I saw outside of teachers directly. Um, what was I going to say? I remember very candidly when I was in junior high and high school, there was a girl who ran track, and she had a grown man with a job who would come up there faithfully every day and watch her run track. And he did that every single day. Now I knew this girl. I never once saw her parents, but that man, he was there every day. And I remember thinking then it was weird. Um, but eventually she got out of high school, and they got married. So I don't know if they're still together, but he was consistent, and and I saw that a lot. Like when I think about homecoming games that they would used to have at school, there were grown people there at homecoming games that didn't have children. They just came, to watch games and kick it with the youngsters. That they didn't have children, they didn't know anybody there, but they would just kind of come to a game and watch youngsters and engage with the girls and things like that. There would be like a crowd of guys, and girls would get dressed up. And that was normal culture. Like grown men would come to homecoming games. And so, you know, children are, their minds are very malleable. They're vulnerable. And so they could be easily manipulated. That girl may have been exposed to sexual abuse, parental neglect, a whole host of things that could be going on. And not only that, I worked with children in the group home. Um, and a lot of them were very, I'll say active in the streets. And that was something they were skilled at by the time they were in the group home, and some of them were 12 or 13. But if a child is active in the streets, you know, selling herself and things like that, that child has been exposed to things. A lot of them have been left at home for days, weeks on end, and so they had to figure some things out. A lot of them had been exposed to abuse and things like that, but it's your parents' job to, really educate your children. I'm not going to sit here and say that children don't lie, because they may, but sometimes children can also want to be out there and do what their friends are doing. So there's other things that are happening, but I would not recommend calling a child fast, which, by the way, I've only seen fast and wrong reserved for Black culture. I haven't seen any other culture reference um, their children, use these names or these words to describe their children being out there. I think this is important because the way in which we speak to our children and about our children have an impact. In this way, says that there's something wrong with you. You're a bad person, and that can continue to add to a bigger issue. I don't know, but but at the end of the day, that's still a child, and that man is grown, and he is exploiting and taking advantage of someone who is much younger. I don't care how old she might look, right? She may even be developed, as they say. But if he knows that she's a child, when he knows that she's a child, he is exploiting that situation. And this is something I see happen a lot, where online they try to adultify and sexualize young girls. And that is highly inappropriate. There's still a little girl, and we need to slow it down. Slow down, on the name calling and the, making little girls feel, I don't know, just trying to shame a girl like you would a grown woman that has the full frontal lobe development. Lastly, one thing I will say is your experience is not everybody's experience. You at 13 isn't every 13-year-old girl's experience of growing up, of having a safe home environment, of exposure, of having parents, being in a safe community, or even having support. So just we can't apply things in broad strokes and say I wasn't doing it. Well, you might not be her, and you might not be you're not her, and you're not experiencing the same thing as her. So everyone's situation is different. I also encourage people that, and this isn't meant to be disrespectful for this commenter, I would encourage people to, instead of making quick judgments, which I know is easier said than done, I would seek to understand, try to seek to understand what's happening. Talk to young people, get involved with young people. If you see this happening, it helps to have all hands on deck in terms of community, but certainly seeking to understand and not saying, well, that's not me, so if I wasn't doing it, then what she's doing is, a reflection of her, and she's just a bad girl. We don't know what that child is going through behind closed doors. And thanks so much. Like, comment, share, and follow.